20 years ago, yesterday, the euro was officially launched, spelling the death of national currencies like the franc and the Deutschmark. It was a time of high hopes and also pessimism about what the single currency would buy and bring.
The euro is the single most important thing happening in the world in the next 5 years. It's more important than any war, any election, because if the euro works, the euro is going to replace the US dollar as the world's reserve currency.
Countries that are economically worse off, we'll end up paying for. And then, before you know it, there will be another war.
Such a project will, in fact, contribute to the kinds of things that our citizens are looking for. Security, the absence of crime, the absence of drugs, prosperity, jobs.
Strauss-Kahn pushed a button and brought a new and hopefully solid currency into existence on live TV.
It's a kind of symbol, you know, it's the first euro ever done.
The sheer size of the currency change is daunting. France alone will stamp out more than 8 billion coins and print 2.5 billion euro notes between now and 2002.
Well, joining me now, Adam Posen, who's the president of the Peterson Institute for Financial Economics. He was a former member of the Bank of England's Monetary Policy Committee. You remember that day very well, as I certainly do, the day when they irrevocably linked currencies. The reality, of course, is that when they created the euro, they did build a house on shifting sands. Do you now believe the foundations are strong?
Richard, I think it's less about shifting sands and more about an incomplete house. By design, they left it incomplete in all kinds of rooms. They didn't have a kitchen, which would have been the bank supervision. They didn't have a basement, which would have been a furnished basement, which would have been the fiscal policy. And so therefore, the house was standing, you could live in it, but it didn't have all the functions it should have to be a viable living place. The shifting sands are not so much the issue. If you look at every country, pretty much they've all got popular majorities in favor of staying in the euro. It's the economic gaps of not having a kitchen, not having a finished basement, not having the fiscal and financial things.
If they didn't, I mean, I remember interviewing one of the authors of the euro who specifically said, we knew this when we created the euro, but the promise was that policymakers would put them in afterwards. Well, they didn't. 2009 happened. Do you now believe all those extra rooms and those necessities are now in? Is the euro, as a structure, is it safe and secure?
It's better than it's been. It was partly, as you say, by design that they expected the policymakers to do it, but partly they expected it to be an automatic process, that the countries would converge, the politics would converge. It's kind of like the wishful thinking on China, that everything would converge, and it didn't happen that way. They've made huge progress on bank supervision, and that is really making sure the house doesn't fall down. That's great. They have made no progress on fiscal. They've made limited progress on capital market integration. They still got legal issues between countries, not in a direct sense, but in the sense of conformity. So there's real problems. If there's another major downturn, it could be very bad. The problem remains there.